soon after, I started pursuing formal education in coaching, and my mentor started to help me refine my area of expertise, my niche. As I was telling him, I keep struggling on finding my niche. You see, I was talking about a lot of things. I was able to help a lot of people from different areas, but I wasn't able to really focus down on one subject of expertise that I would for certain always constantly get results for my clients. So I told him that I was always constantly talking about spirituality, but the clients that I keep getting wasn't truly wanting to go after spiritual attainment. So I was telling him what's going on. So very simple, he made me do this very simple practice. All he told me to do was to take a piece of paper and just simply list down this very quick ascension model of how I've went through from a person who is lost, feeling stuck, directionless, okay, to a person leading a purpose-driven life, to a person who has actually started to work towards the authentic self and then slowly embodying the higher self and leading a more spiritually attained life. Now, this was where I actually started to write on that piece of paper and started to draw some bubble diagrams. You see, he told me to list down all the keywords that I could come up with pertaining to all of these respective fields, from being lost and feeling stuck to all the way living a purposeful life, and all the way up to the authentic self, and then all the way up to a higher self state. Okay, so this right behind me, I've drawn out the exact bubble diagram that I've drawn about 3 years ago. So you would learn a lot from this bubble diagram. Please stay on with me. As you can see here, right behind me, there are 4 different bubble diagrams. And these bubble diagrams, this practice was what my mentor told me to do. He said, treat these bubble diagrams as an ascension model of yours. And all these 4 different bubbles are just like different phases of your life. In each phase, just simply write down what are the keywords, the emotions, the feelings, or whatever that are associated with that phase all around it. And then it will start to make sense. And when I did it, it really started to make sense. Now, this first phase was simply autopilot phase, living the motions, just simply surviving each day. You see, back then I was still an interior designer, and I was struggling with this identity for the longest time, 13 to 14 years, right? And I was always constantly feeling the lack of confidence. And why? Because I did not have formal qualifications in interior design, whereas other people had. Hence, I had this limiting belief that I always sort of feel, that I can't outcompete others, you see. And I feel not in control, simply. That's why lack of confidence. Now, not to say, I also struggled with this feeling of emptiness, feeling very lost and stuck, right? I just somehow couldn't pinpoint what this feeling exactly is. I was job hopping, constantly searching for it, but this seems to be like an invisible force, I had better pay, better job title, but yet I still can't shake away this feeling of emptiness. Now, I also had this directionless feeling where if I told myself, look, I'm not gaining any kind of fulfillment or meaning from this work. If I quit right now and start a different career pathway, then my salary would start from zero again. That was where I was constantly telling myself. Because I had a fixed mindset, I couldn't see that I could potentially be an entrepreneur, or I could potentially be doing something else and really grow and be very good at what I'm doing and potentially get better salary. You see, I was very fixed. And because of that, I was constantly stuck and feeling very stagnant, stuck in a rut, okay? And of course, because of the lack of confidence, feeling that I'm being outcompeted by others, I feel very stressed all the time. And I was working on burnout because each day I was working a lot of OTs and OTs from mornings to mornings, very burnt out, low in energy levels, very unhealthy, right? Very unmotivated. And because of the unhealthy and the unmotivated, I was 112 kilos at one point of my life. Okay, right now I'm like 62. Okay, so I had addictions. I was smoking, I was drinking, eating a lot of unhealthy stuff, binge eating, things like that, you see. And of course, this thing which I wasn't very aware of, I had a lot of trauma, a lot of trapped emotions from my childhood days. I had a lot of bullying, when I was younger. I was, all kinds of stuff, right, that I had to work through. So I was always constantly seeking for external validations. Oh, the boss's appraisal, people telling me that my design is good or not good, I was constantly living for that, constantly feeling very distracted, and let alone feel very disconnected when other people don't really see my worth, you see. And because of that, I was constantly feeling very depressed because I had this disconnection from what I truly wanted in my life, this purpose. So it came to a point where I actually said, enough is enough, time to run away from it all. Run away from it all. What kind of mindset did I have? So that was where I told my wife, look, why not we move to Australia? And this was where we moved to the next phase very soon. You see, 2018 we moved to Australia, and I worked for a design firm. I worked for an architecture firm as a design lead for about a year plus, and then pandemic came. I lost work again for 1 full year, and that was where my shift inward started. You see, now that was where I started to seek purpose, meaning and fulfillment, because if not, what else? I was doing a lot of meditations, doing a lot of introspections, things like that. And this phase was where I started to become a content creator, right? And also a coach, right? So this phase of my life was where I was gaining a lot of understanding that I actually enjoy helping people. So this was where service and contribution came at the back of my head. This was where I became very inspired and I became more energized, and I feel like I need to work out a lot more. You see, I started doing a lot of running, I was eating clean, and that was also the phase where I started contemplating, should I actually start being a vegetarian? And when I went through spiritual awakening, well, I had no other choice. My 5 senses actually strengthened so much that I had to become a vegetarian, you see. So I became very energized and I became very focused in order for me to succeed as a content creator and as a coach. I was drawing a lot of inspiration from others, and I was slowly aligning with my purpose and my authentic self, you see. I was gaining a lot of clarity, but not enough. You see, this clarity was from different courses that I started to enroll one after another, and it actually burned up a lot of my savings, you see. And I had to be very resilient because it was not easy to start a new pathway and also start off in a new career without any relevant knowledge or personal development, mindset work or whatever. You see, I only had knowledge in different spiritual modalities, but all of that also requires me to take up a course to learn, right? So one thing was for sure that I was very resilient, I was very motivated, because this actually gave me a lot of meaning and fulfillment, and this is something that made me had a very purposeful life, you see. And let alone it gave me a lot of personal strength, because I showed a lot of people that I had the courage to actually stand up for myself, to actually had the courage to change my direction in life, you see. So sooner or later, where all these external validations actually start to fade away, I no longer want any all these validations from others. That's where I gained a lot of inner peace. I was doing a lot of meditation as well, right? So whatever challenges that came, whether I had clients or no clients, or I had not enough income coming in, all these challenges became part of my growth journey. So I sort of seen that all these challenges were a part of my learning experience. Okay, so I wasn't as bothered as when I was back in these days, you see. Now, this actually started to shift me very quickly up to my authentic self. It gave me a lot of opportunity to adapt a growth mindset, to also became very self-directed, because I started aligning with my values. I started doing the inner work, the healing, you see, doing all the shadow work that is required for me to heal, and to start speaking, acting, and also living truthfully to my own set of values, to the things that are truly matter, you see. And basically I started to act in a place of love, right? To really show other people I care, and also simply move in a flow state. You see, sometimes I can work non-stop, and from mornings to mornings, my days are very long, you see, but yet I go in this flow state and I feel very energized, okay? And I started to create an impact. My followers, my audience started to grow, and I felt powerful, right? And obviously abundance started to come in. I got more and more clients wanted to work with me, right? And I was very intentional with what I want to do. You see, I became very intentional. And sooner or later, this version of me seems very evolved from this version of me, you see. And a lot of confidence start to came in, why did I actually get this confidence? It was because I was able to be vulnerable. I accepted me for who I am. Yes, I have ADHD. Yes, I'm dyslexic. So what? I've got my own unique strengths and weaknesses. I am the only me in this world. There's no other Garrett out there, right? So I accepted this, hence why the confidence came in. And this was where I felt limitless. I can talk about any subject, I could help other people, I can coach anybody with any kind of problems that they're facing, you see. But now it's time for me to narrow down and stay focused on who I truly need to help. Because this phase here, this is the connection between this and this. If anybody wants to get to this, he needs to first go through this. That was what I missed out on, you see. And in order for a person to go even higher, to reach the higher self, which is to act in a place of divinity, soul evolution, to become very spiritual in nature, to live spiritually, in fact, to be very wise, intuitive, to have a higher seeking to life, to be very energetic, not just energized, energetic all the time. Your energy levels are always high, constantly blissful, source of healing to others. You're not just healed, you're the source of healing for others. You have a secret presence for you. You go into a space, people can sense your presence, and you have this unshakable peace within you. Almost anything that challenges you is a way for you to grow, so it becomes an unshakable kind of peace, right? And definitely you're starting to create a legacy for yourself. Higher state of consciousness, unconditional love is starting to creep in, you see. So a lot of all these spiritual subjects, people talking about different woo-ness, talk about all this quantum physics, all this unconditional love, all the spiritual principles from different religions or different kind of cultures. What's the use? You see, a lot of people talk about them, but they don't do anything about them. People only speak spiritual, but they don't practice living spiritual. So what I realized was that purpose here is the first piece of the stepping stone. It is the foundation that leads people to want to seek more, to become their authentic self, to reach their higher self. If they don't get to here, it's very difficult for them to suddenly jump up here and want to lead a spiritual life. And if they want to lead a spiritual life, but yet they don't have the discipline, they simply want to go back to this first phase again, then it's like back and forth. Hence why people don't get permanent and lasting results, you see. So it's important for us to take it one step up as an ascension model. You need to first come to this place where you start living purposefully to gain meaning and fulfillment in life. Only when your material needs are sought after, that's where you will have the motivation, to have the courage to seek something greater, to really want to work towards your own inner well-being, to really want to seek a higher meaning to life, a higher seeking, to connect with the divine. You see, all this is a higher seeking. We can all talk about all this spiritual woo-ness, but we are all talking spirituality. It doesn't serve any purpose. It only serves a purpose when you live spiritually. Hope this video has helped you in some way. Okay, with that, I end it off with love and light.